So what I'm going to do is through these tutorials is just kind of cover some most asked questions about our that are asked throughout my indie or large team class for Unity questions. So let's go ahead and start. First of all, how do you create a button that loads a scene? It's kind of a basic question. So I'm going to go up to Game Object here, UI, Button, and you'll notice that it creates a canvas, a button, and an event system. Now on the canvas itself, what I like to do is set a constant or a scale screen size so that I know that it's always going to match my camera. So 16 by 10, let's say I want to do 1920 by 1080. And then I know if you go to 16 by 10, that's my size. If I go to if I'm doing a standalone 1024 by 768, right? I want to make sure that I set these to 1024 by 768, right? So that it always is that my reference resolution is the same as my match, right? So match with over height. Another thing is whenever you're adjusting a button, what I notice people will do is they'll just scale it up in the view. So actually for my Canva for a second, let's go ahead and make this camera space. So screen space camera. I'm going to drag my main camera in there for now so I know it's always locked. What I'll notice people will do is they'll scale it up like this, which isn't entirely bad. But notice that if I'm scaling it up here, it's not actually changing my button size. It's scaling up the scale here. So if you want to, make sure that you always increase your button size here. And that way, when you go to adjust the text, you can actually, adjust them so that it matches to a digitally physical size rather than the scale. It should always be 111. So that's another issue that I notice a lot of people sort of screw up. So this is kind of a nice option too by doing it by camera space. Hit F to focus here. So let's write a very simple script to get our button to load a scene. So I'm going to go to Add Component, and let's go to Scripts. Let's do so let's go to New Script, and then I'm going to name my script Load Scene. And then I'm going to click Create and Add, and it'll add our script here. Let's go ahead and edit the script. I'm going to pause it while it loads up. So the first thing I want to do is add my scene manager. So .scene management. I'm going to go ahead and delete these guys for a second. And I'm going to create a function that will receive load scene. And what it's going to do is it's going to take an integer, and it's going to be the index of the scene. So let's take a look at that for a second. Oops, I'm going to have to do load scene index, because that's load scene function is actually part of the scene management system. So I'm going to save that for a second. And what I can do is I'm going to go to File, Build Settings, and if I add Open Scene, well, let's save this as Main Menu. You'll notice that it has a scene index of 0. This is what I'm going to switch between. So let's go ahead and use our scene manager here. Load scene, and then all we have to do is drop in this index. It takes in an integer. So if we highlight over here, you'll notice, sort of scroll over this, it tells you take 0 arguments, string scene name, for example, or if we drop an index here, it'll actually take in that whatever we're passing in. So let's go ahead and save that. And what I can do here is, so we have 0 here. We don't have a scene 1. That's going to be where actually game starts. So let's go ahead and select our button again. And I'm going to drag this script. Let's go ahead and make a on click. So I'm going to drag this here. And what that does is you notice that it pops up where it says no function. We do have a function in our scene now, and it's called load scene index, and it takes in an integer. So watch what happens when we select that, the name of our script, which is load scene, and then notice that we made a public variable called load scene manager. So I made that public, right? Let me save that. So load scene manager. Here's load scene. Oh, you know what? I just noticed this. So because we are deriving from model behavior, we do need a Unity. We need to put in using Unity engine. Let's save that. Now it should just pop up. Let's see. So your load scene, and there you go. Load scene index is right there. So I'm going to set this to 1, meaning that every time we click this button, it's going to call this on click and it's going to load scene 1. So if I go to File, New Scene, let me save that, and I save this scene as level 1, for example. You want to come up with a much better name than level 1. Alright, and then I go to add, File, Build Settings, Add Open Scene, there's level 1. So let's go back to our, let's save that. Let's go back to our main menu and press play. Alright, now when I press play, you'll notice that we are now in level 1.